Hey everybody, I'm here today to talk to you about 6 tips for learning to drive. In this video, I'll be going over 6 simple pieces of advice that will help you when you're learning to drive a car. Now let's get right to it. Tip number 1 is to start reading and studying before your first driving lesson. When you know that your first driving lesson is coming up, I would suggest that you start reading and studying as early as you can. Even if your first driving lesson is in a month from now, start reading and studying now. Now, there are many things that you can do. You can go and look at the driver's handbook for your local area. You can find it in paper form or also probably online. And even if you can't find the driver's handbook, there is a ton of free information that you can get online. Meaning you can watch videos just like you're doing right now. You can read articles and read information all about driving advice and driving skills and so forth. So I would recommend doing as much reading and studying as possible before your first lesson, because it'll give you a little bit of a head start and it'll make you better prepared, more prepared for learning how to drive. All right. Tip number 2 is to start slow and build up. When you're first learning to drive, you have to think about it like a ladder, okay? You can't all of a sudden just jump to the top of the ladder. And even if you can do it, it might be unsafe to do so. So with that being said, you have to start off at the first portion of the ladder, at the bottom rung, and then you have to go to the next one and the next one. So you have to start slow and build it up. When you're first learning to drive, you shouldn't just hop in a car and then just go onto the highway. You should spend at least 20 to 30 minutes in the car, barely even driving. Like, head to a parking lot and just learn how the various pedals and components work before you even start to drive. And then start in an empty parking lot. And then eventually make your way onto a side street during hours where there's no traffic. Then eventually you make your way onto a main street. And then eventually onto a highway with, only going 1 exit. And then 2 exits. And then 5 exits. And then so forth. You have to start slow and build up. You don't want to get, move too quickly, because then what happens is you falsely build your confidence, and that is a cause for an accident. So you have to build your confidence slowly. Start slow. You have a lot of time to learn how to drive. There's no point in rushing it, okay? All right. Tip number 3, listen to all information with an open mind. Now, if you saw something in the past, and you think that the way that you press the brake pedal is like this, and the instructor or whoever is teaching you how to drive tells you it's wrong, if you have a closed mind, you're going to stay with that mistake, okay? Now, you have to have an open mind. The person that's teaching you how to drive is teaching you for a reason. Now, they might not know everything, but they probably know more than you if you're the one that's learning how to drive. So listen to what they say with an open mind. And that also means don't accept what they say as automatically being right, okay? The person that's teaching you how to drive is not going to always be right, but they're also always not going to always be wrong. So you have to listen to what they say with an open mind. Listen to what they say, try it out, and see if it works for you, and see if it works for all of the driving skills that you're trying to learn. All right, let's move forward. Tip number 4 is learn from your mistakes. Now, it's inevitable. When you're learning to drive, you're gonna make mistakes. It happens. That is what it is. It's as simple as that. Now, it's okay to make mistakes. In fact, I would encourage making little mistakes to prevent you from making the big mistakes, as long as you learn from them. So that means that when you're learning to drive, if you make a mistake, practice not making that mistake over and over. Let's say you reverse park, and when you reverse park, you land over the line. You're not perfectly centered in that parking spot. Practice reverse parking 50 times until you get over that mistake. Making smaller mistakes and learning from them will actually prevent you from making bigger mistakes. That means making a small error in a parking lot without any traffic is going to likely prevent you from, or make it less likely that you make the same mistake on the road with traffic, which can mean the difference between braking too late in an empty parking lot versus braking too late and rear-ending someone. So that's why I would recommend making mistakes, as long as you learn from those smaller mistakes. Tip number 5 is that remember, safety comes first. Now, I know when you first get your license, you're first learning how to drive, you're driving this car at a pretty fast speed. Even if you're going 30 kilometers an hour, when you compare that speed to a walking speed or to the speed of, let's say, like riding a bicycle, it is pretty fast. So with that being said, remember that safety comes first. Before you get into the car, every single time, you should always say to yourself, remember, safety comes first. That will allow you to have a safe mindset, and it's going to allow you to keep safety at the front of your mind, which is going to allow you to be a much better and much safer driver. And last but not least, tip number 6 is pick a good car to practice with. Now, I would recommend learning how to drive in an automatic car, because this way you can actually learn the controls of the car and learn the steering techniques and the acceleration techniques without worrying about shifting gears. And then you can always learn how to drive a manual transmission a little bit later. So I would recommend learning in an automatic car, and then whenever you want to switch to a manual, you can just learn the essence of shifting gears and using the clutch and so forth. But also, when I say pick a good car to practice with, I mean that you shouldn't go and pick a car that has like 400 horsepower to learn how to drive with. It's going to be much harder to learn how to drive with a car that has more power and more features. You should pick a simple, basic car. This way you learn how to master the steering techniques. I mean, if you choose a car that has a ton of driver assist features, then you're not going to learn how to assist yourself when you're driving. You're going to be departing from the lane, and then the car's going to bring you back into the lane instead of you realizing that you have to stay centered in the lane. So with all of that being said, pick a good car to practice with and to learn with. It's as simple as that. And that's basically it. In this video, I've gone over 6 simple tips for learning to drive. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you think down below as a comment. And of course, be sure to subscribe for more great car and driving videos just like this one. And that's all I have for you today. Thanks for watching.